Our team is the best. I'm gonna have my other phone up too so I can see comments. What's up, y'all? John
Hey,
Melton coming to you live with another episode of Money Monday. I hope everybody had an amazing weekend. I'm so excited to have the man, the myth, the legend. And I say that every time I introduce Ray because he really is a living legend. How many of us have gotten some value from Mr. Ray Higdon? How many of you have learned a little something, something over the years? Smash that heart button. And for those of you that don't know, well, now you're going to learn today. We actually came across Ray Higdon basically 10 years ago when we were
mm,
broke, busted, and disgusted. We were so
mm,
sick and tired of doing the old school thing. We were making money. So I guess we weren't broke, but we were time broke. We were working 8 to faint. We were doing home meetings every single night, stressed out. And we just were like, there's got to be a better way to build this business because we had the golden handcuffs. Can anyone else relate to
mm.
this? And we found ourselves in a situation where we were just like, I really just want to make money from home. And we found people like Ray and his wife, Jessica. And we were like, wow, like I like what they're talking about. I like what they're teaching. I like how they're generating leads. And I remember the first time I think I talked to you, Ray, you probably don't remember this because you talked to so many people, but I remember being like, what does it mean? Like you generate leads? Like I literally, when you would talk about the list, I'm like, what does that mean? I don't understand this language, but I want leads. I'm sick and tired of
Yeah,
cold calling people and 3-foot ruling it. Anybody with a freaking pulse, right? Talk to them. So you've been such a blessing in our life, and I know you've impacted
awesome.
this profession more than just about anyone. And I remember we went to your event, Top Earner something, Top Earner
Top
Academy.
Earner Academy. Yep, you
Yes,
got it.
and
You
it
got it.
was me, Nadia, my buddy Brett, my buddy Ben, and Bob Heilig, and we sat in the
Yep.
very back, and we were like, I think this is way better than what we've been doing. So we joined your mastermind. And actually, so
Yeah,
to be clear, we started following you 10 years ago, but we didn't actually go to one of your events until a couple years later,
that was
regretfully, because
2015.
yes,
Yeah,
2015 is when we went to that event, joined your
yeah,
mastermind, and our life has never been the same. And
yeah,
some of those principles and some of the things you taught way back when, I still teach my team today. So
yeah.
thank you for the impact you made in our life. And I love giving you this testimonial as well. We went from multiple 6 figures a year to multiple 6 figures a month.
Yeah.
And go figure, it was shortly after we joined your mastermind and started learning
It's
from you.
awesome.
So we
It's
appreciate all
awesome,
you
man.
do and excited to talk to everybody. Right now we're live in
Yeah,
about 6 or 7 different places, so make sure
nice.
you all check in, say where you're coming in from, and if you love Ray, let him know. But Ray, I'm excited to talk to you about fast growth and
Yeah,
some of the exciting things you guys got going on with the Higdon Group.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And think about it. It all started with an event, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
you coming to that event. That's what led to a breakthrough for you. And then obviously you guys have been running amazingly for years and years and years. So I a lot of times I'm helping with a pivot, a little shift, and then people go and run with it and become absolute rock stars. So it's just a testament to you for doing the work and you keep showing up. Just awesome. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. It's been life changing, and it's cool too
Yeah,
because obviously at this point, people have learned so much from you guys, and have, like you said, gone
yeah,
on to be top earners and really impacted the whole profession, not just like their individual team, their individual business. I think that's amazing. So, can you talk a little bit about like because obviously you coach a lot of people in different companies, and you
yeah,
always have that unique perspective that many of us don't because we're only building our company. What are you
sure.
seeing right now that's working for fast and sustainable growth? Would love to talk about that.
Mm. Yeah, so there's one element that I'll talk about as far as fast growth. Um, but I think one of the absolute key things is you have to lead yourself despite what everyone else is saying, despite what the DSA is saying, despite what numbers are even saying. Like
Mm,
you have to do the work whether anyone's doing it or not. And a lot of people, like I heard the other day, I heard two reps and they were talking. They said, "Hey, did you see that the DSA said we didn't grow last year?" And I'm just like, what are y'all trying to prove? Like what exactly are you digging into here? And because you need to not pay attention to that. Like if I paid attention to all the media, I'd be very depressed. I'd be very negative. I'd be God, man, I'd be hopeless because, and I think sometimes that's where the media wants you. And so you gotta ask yourself, what can I do, right? What can I do, whether I feel like it or not, whether everyone else is doing it or not, and am I doing that? right? And that's a very basic, conversation. But if you want fast growth, it's going to come down to one thing, and I can tie this to every major growth in my life, and that is faith. And I
Mm.
don't necessarily mean faith like in God, just to be clear, because I was taking leaps of faith, before I understood God, before I came to God, which was 8 or 9 months ago. So what does that mean? What is faith? Faith isn't faith is a way of being, and it's a way of showing up. When I left, and I'm sure you've had this, I guarantee it, because no one that is at any level has grown without some type of leap of faith. And so, like when I left my last job, which was 18 years ago, I think, yeah, 18 years ago, no one thought that was a good idea. And honestly, it really wasn't a good idea because I didn't have a pillow, I didn't have a bunch of money saved up. I didn't have a lot of things that people would think that you would need. I didn't have a rock solid plan. I just had faith that, you know what, life can be better than what it is. And faith is in hopes unseen. Faith is not relying on your eyeballs, your bank account, your circumstances, but you move in a way that says things can be better. Things can improve. And if you have that, you know, um, faith element of God, like I believe that God can improve any circumstance. I believe he can overcome anything. I believe he's a God of miracles. And I've seen it over and over and over just in these last, 8 or 9 months. But it's going to have to be, if you want to grow fast, it is not dinking and dunking and doing your daily routine every day, although most people don't do that. Let's be honest, right? So you think that that's the answer. That's not the answer to fast growth. That is the answer, that you will grow if you do, the daily minimums or whatever, you'll grow, but you'll most likely come upon a point where you're knocked out of the game, either through health or the health of a family member, or you'll be upset about a comp plan change, or you'll be upset about something else like the spouse or something. But if you're making leaps of faith, if you're moving in a way that says, I'm not so sure about this, and you move in that direction, and all of a sudden you'll find that you're provided for. You'll find that you'll land in a much bigger place. And if you look at all of your major growth, you'll find that you took a leap of faith, or you didn't massively grow and you didn't grow fast.
Yeah, and it's funny too because it's of course it's always easy to be excited and have lots of faith and confidence
Sure,
when things are going well. But the true test
sure.
of a leader is when maybe things do slow down. Maybe you had someone quit your team that was
Yeah,
a big leader, or you see companies make changes sometimes, or I mean my last company got shut down by the Federal Trade Commission just like
yeah,
that, lost an income,
yeah,
lost a business, and I could have been like, oh, I guess I'm done, I'm going to quit, I'm going to give up, but
yeah,
we persevered and we kept
yeah.
going. And now looking back, it was a blessing in disguise. But at the time, it was like,
Amen.
why God? But
Yeah,
there's so many situations like that
yeah,
in our life. When we look at our life in reverse, especially as
yeah,
we age, right? We have a little bit more wisdom and
yeah,
perspective. We go, oh, that's why that relationship ended, or that's why I had to deal with that
yeah,
that situation that sucked
S-
at the time.
yeah.
But looking back, you're like, oh man, if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't happen, and that wouldn't happen.
Right.
And I'd be who I am today.
So if you can get faster at that, right?
Yes, right.
So that is an area that I'm getting faster at, right? And so like I'm up here in Ohio, and a friend of mine, he invited me to come up here to be on his podcast, and that was really it. And it's not that he has a humongous, I love him, David, he may see this, but it's not like he has some humongous following or some like incredible thing. um, but I prayed on it, and I was supposed to come, so I'm like, okay. And so, faith is in the hopes unseen. So I came up here immediately. He had me, we went to this wonderful church service, and then we met with the leadership of that church, who he's never even met before. And they're now considering simulcasting our event. You know what I mean? That could be thousands and thousands and thousands of more people. And because I came up here, but I didn't come up here for that.
Mm.
And then just a couple other really cool things happen. Just so happens that Mr. Mark Harbert lives in this city, right?
He's on
And we
right now
have,
too. He said he ate
yeah,
breakfast
he's on.
with you.
And so my flight was delayed last night, and I'll tell you, I was yesterday, man, I was tired. I left the house at 3:45 a.m. I was going to get home at 1 a.m. And so I'm tired, man. I'm like, you know what? I struggle sleeping on planes. And so I drag my butt in here, 7 p.m. It's, supposed to leave. It gets canceled. And my immediate thought, because I've been working this muscle so much, is, oh, God must want me to get a good night's sleep. And so I slept more last night than I've probably slept in years, feeling refreshed, feeling great, feeling nice. And because of that delay, I get to have breakfast with Mark Harbert, who is, who's helping to promote our event in a totally different way. Isn't a speaker or nothing. He's helping to, promote our event, and I get to have breakfast with him, and we mastermind some different things. So the faster you can start to look at your disappointment as, this is happening for a reason. God's always in control, and this is happening for a reason, and it's to perfect me. And that is biblical, right? James 1 says, count it all joy, my brethren, when you're faced with different trials, because those trials produce a steadfastness and a perseverance within you, and they perfect you. And in Hebrews 12, it says, no chastisement feels pleasant at the time, but painful, but it's producing in you a perfection. And so if we can start to more quickly look at our disappointments, look at our emotional, anger or rage or any of that stuff as, wait a minute, God allowed that to happen. What do I need to work on so that I improve, so that I get better, so that I can step more in faith? And again, faith is in the hopes unseen. If I relied on my bank account, and if I relied on what logically made sense, I don't know, I wouldn't have grown that much. I never would have left the job. I wouldn't hire John Maxwell, right? We have John Maxwell speak in our event. It was a $250,000 investment.
Wow.
And so we're running, we're doing a 12-month mentorship program together, and he's speaking for 4 hours on day 3. It's $250,000. And if I look at the logistics of that, I'm like, dang, but now all of a sudden we may have hundreds of churches that love John Maxwell that may want to tune in. I didn't know that, but I just operated in faith. And so I said, this doesn't make sense, but I'm going to pray on it, and I'm going to do it. And so faith is the real secret to fast growth, is for you to stop relying just on your senses, just on your eyeballs, just on what logically makes sense, and move in a direction of, hey, John's done this before. I'm going to take his testimony and I'm going to go do what he says. Even though you don't have the results just yet, I'm going to go do what John says. Praying on things. And even though this doesn't make sense, I'm going to go to Ohio. I'm going to go over here. And so I'm telling you, anyone in here that's had any kind of big growth, just look back at your life. It was a leap of faith, I guarantee you. I remember our first event, our first major event 10 years ago. It was Top Earner Academy, 2013, and it was August. What's it? Yeah, it was in August. So, 10 years ago, literally, today. And this guy, David, him and his wife, David and Kate, they join. This is so funny because now I'm realizing I know other Davids and Kates. But anyway, so he joins our mastermind, which back then was $50,000. We had a diamond package. And he joins it like on Saturday. And he's like, I got to be honest, Ray, like, I'm not flush with money right now, but you know what? I'm going to do this. I know it's going to be good for me. The next day, he gets notified that this real estate property he's been trying to sell for years, it gets a contract on it, and his profit is going to be $53,000. You can't make that stuff up. But I've seen that over and over where you make a leap where it just doesn't make any sense, time-wise, money-wise, or whatever. But all of a sudden you're provided for. All of a sudden something lands. And for me, I now know that's God moving in my life, and he's been perfecting me all these years. But regardless, even before I knew that, making the leaps that were uncomfortable, that is your secret to fast growth.
And it's like John Maxwell says, you either win or you learn. There is no losing, right? But maybe you could talk about your event, because you have like the most insane lineup
for
your event in September next month. And by the way, for those of you that are registered, you're planning on going, drop into the comments. Let us know if you're excited about this event. And if you need a ticket, you can go to mylifestyleacademy.com/faith. That is all the details. But with that being said, can you talk about it? Because I saw the lineup of speakers. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like some of the most amazing leaders on the planet in this profession, all in one event. It's crazy. So we'd love for you to talk a little bit about the event.
Yeah. And and there's an underlying theme that isn't actually on the page, but kind of my internal people know, and that is getting over your past, stepping into your present, and developing out your future. And there's a lot of speakers that you probably don't know that are amazing. Like we have one guy out of Columbus, Ohio, Pastor Baker. He did a 18-part series on finances, and over 25% of his congregation became debt free.
Wow.
Now, I don't know any network marketing leader where 25% of their team is debt free, but I know a pastor who 25% of his congregation is. And so he's speaking. He's someone I've learned a lot from. We have, a lot of the rock stars that you guys know. We have Justin Prince, the one, right? Be the one. We have Bryn Lang, and I asked Bryn because she's so good at helping women with mom guilt. Like, I'm like, you gotta speak. We gotta have you. And so we got her speaking about mom guilt. We got my friends Richard and Mary. They specifically speak in a way I've never heard anyone talk about. And it's funny because I did an interview with them, and I was like, that was amazing. And they're like, really? Was it? Like, it was amazing. They showed exactly how to use your kids in with your business, how to grow your business and feel good about it, so much so that your kids actually cheer for you, your kids are involved, and they broke down steps I've never heard anyone else ever share. And wow. I mean, they're the number one earners in their company. We got the Hurricane Stormy Wellington is going to be speaking there. So we got a lot of I would say super popular rock stars that a lot of people know, and then we got some unknowns. We got some people that y'all don't know. My buddy Tyler Watson, he does something that, in my opinion, is the missing link between guys like Tony Robbins and guys like even Joe Dispenza. He's got this missing link, and it's around allergies and addictions, in that if you do the work, right, and you just work your face off, but if you're allergic to a profitable situation and you're addicted to a negative situation, you can do 100 times the work and you're only going to move the needle 1%. When you identify and actually get rid of them, he has physical things that you can do to get rid of them. All of a sudden, stuff starts becoming easy.
You're right, because there are those people, and they brag about all the messages they send out and all the work they're doing, and you're like, you don't want to be a jerk, but you're like, yeah, but at the end of the day, and of course, it's all about marry the process, divorce the result, focus on the activities, and the success will come, but not always. Not always. Because there's something missing. There's something missing, and I think that's definitely something that a lot of people need to hear, because it's not just one thing either. It depends on the person, but it sounds like this guy can help people tie that together, because you can do all the praying, meditating, prospecting, personal development, all the things, and it still doesn't work. What's that missing piece? And I think that would be a powerful conversation for sure. And I actually, to be honest, I think about all the times in my early days in network marketing where, I got such bad comparitis, comparing myself to other people. And I'm like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? Like, I must be doing it wrong. I'm not cut out for this. There must be something wrong with me. Anybody else ever thought those thoughts, or even said that? It's even worse when you say it out loud, right? Life and death is in the tongue. But it's interesting how, going to events and surrounding yourself and like putting yourself in that environment, not virtually, not watching on the phone, that it's not the same. Being in the room, how like those little breakthroughs, those side conversations, that's when the magic happens. At least that's been our experience, for not just us, but for thousands and thousands of other people that we know over the last 20 years. And it really is so much more than just making money.
So many things there, but agree with all of that. And being in the atmosphere is very different. And I'll tell you, our industry has forgotten that. Like I'm kind of one of the kind of maybe different guys that I speak at 2 events a month, almost every month. And so I'm at a different company event, or sometimes it's real estate, sometimes it's faith, sometimes it's finance, and so I get to be at a lot of events in person as a speaker usually, and I can tell you that when people are back in an event, especially post COVID, they're like, oh my God, I forgot what this is like. Oh, I
Exactly.
forgot what I was
I
missing.
needed
See,
this.
before COVID, we all knew we needed it, right?
Hmm.
So you went to your company event, but now, when virtual came on, everyone was reverent of it, right? You would lock yourself in a room, you would, make sure no do not disturb, right? Now, I mean, you're ironing clothes, you're chasing kids, the doorbell rings, right? You're totally distracted,
You're at the
and
airport.
yeah, you're at the airport, right? um and so, like, and here's what I know too, man, is if you are, um I'll just say it, if you do believe in God and you're moving in that kind of direction, devil's going to distract you right at the time you need to pay attention. You're
Mm.
That doorbell's going to ring right at the moment you need to hear something, and that would have transformed you. And so I would just highly encourage. We are, starting most likely next week. We'll start offering virtual tickets to our event, but I would highly encourage you to be unreasonable. And
Yeah.
it's unreasonable nowadays because, I mean, when's the last time you were on a flight that wasn't delayed? I mean, I don't even remember. I mean, I think they're all delayed nowadays, right? Like when do you even show up anymore, right?
Yeah, they're
And
either
so it is a
delayed or they lose our luggage because they were
yeah,
delayed. They were
yeah,
rushing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's been our
right.
experience the last couple months.
So it's a pain. It's a pain to travel. There is no question. But there's also power in being unreasonable and saying, I'm going to get there despite the schedule. I'm going to get there
Mhm.
despite money. I'm going to get there no matter what. And
Love
being in that atmosphere is, you're out of your environment.
it.
And
Yeah.
if you notice, even biblically, when people were learning, they went up to the mountain. They
Mm.
changed their atmosphere. They changed their environment, and they're in a better learning capacity. And this is the first Faith Over Fear. We've been running an annual event for 10 years now, but this is the first Faith Over Fear ever. And we have, John Maxwell, as I mentioned, as the keynote speaker, which I'm, really excited about. And we just have a bunch of rock stars. I can't list them all. And we got Mr. John Melton, we got Nadia Melton, and we're really excited about that. And so we got a lot of rock stars. Definitely check out the link for sure.
Isn't it interesting how often, too? By the way, if you need the link, drop the word faith in the comments. Drop the word faith in
Yeah,
the comments, and we'll make sure to respond to you. I also see Bem and some of the team is on dropping the link in the comments as well. But
that's
isn't it interesting, Ray, how often the people that need it the most have the most difficulty getting there, right? It's like the
absolutely.
biggest investment, it's the biggest
Yeah.
sacrifice. The people that have the biggest struggle to get there and make it happen are the ones that need it the most. It's amazing when people are like, I can't afford to
Well,
go. You can't afford not to. So
yeah. They,
love
when you start switching your why not to your why to,
it.
right? Like if I can't afford an event, man, I really need to be there.
Yeah.
Like I need to get my butt there.
Yeah.
If I have no time control in my life, if
Mm.
I'm just running a hamster wheel every single minute of the day and there's no way I can take 3 days off, then I need it more than I think.
Mm.
And so, like, most people will justify downward, and that's why they continue to dink and dunk.
Mm.
But when you're unreasonable, when you say, "Hey, man, I need this, and it's really struggle, and this is a tough decision," that's when you're actually rewarded. And
Yeah.
one question you can ask yourself, and man, if you do this every day, I did this every day for 7 months, changed my life, and that is, what can I do today that would make me proud of myself?
Mm.
And what would make you proud of yourself? Doing something that you're scared of,
Yeah.
right? Doing something that makes you nervous, doing something uncomfortable. So some days it was having a conversation with my mom. Some days it was having a conversation with my wife. Some days it was, reaching out to someone that, I didn't think I had very good rapport with, or was, bigger time than me, or whatever. And some days it was, just doing the work when I didn't feel like doing it. But I can tell you, the more of that you do, the faster you grow, and all of a sudden you're just at a different level. If you're never stepping into faith, and you're just relying on your eyes, just trusting what you see, and whatever makes sense, whatever's logical, but whatever's reasonable, then you're gonna stay small under the radar. And so it's when you step it up, and when you step into, I don't know what this is going to look like. This makes me uncomfortable. That's your big growth.
Yeah. When someone says, "Oh, I'm an introvert," or that's
Yeah.
like that's a big sacrifice for me to invest that. I was
Oh
like,
yeah, no
like you're the
doubt.
epitome. Like Ray doesn't need to go. I don't need to go. We go to events all the time. We were
Yep.
just at an
Yep.
event last week in
Yeah.
California. I mean, it's
Yep.
just and then people are like, "How are you always so fired up? How are you always so passionate? You're so
Yeah.
charged."
Yeah.
And yeah, part of it is because I obviously make a lot of money and we have a lot of success. We have the proof now. Um, but still, I know people that make a lot of money and they're not happy and they're not
That's
fulfilled.
right.
Right? Same with, right?
Right.
I guarantee Ray could probably list off, no, he never would. He could probably list off dozens and dozens of top earners that do not
Oh
feel
yeah.
that fulfillment, that do not feel as excited as they were when they were on the rise, when they were
Yeah.
growing and building, and they were in the trenches and they didn't know if it was going to work and they didn't know what the heck they were doing and they were ignorance on fire. I know those people too. But what keeps
Yeah.
me so passionate, so it's events, it's being with people,
Yeah.
rubbing shoulders. And it's funny because you live in Florida, and we visited Florida a lot during COVID. So even during
Yeah.
COVID, we were still traveling. We were still getting to
Yeah. Yeah.
events. Now, obviously, they were few and far between because there wasn't as many going on. But
Right.
I remember when we first came down to Florida for I don't even remember what it was for. I think it was Nadi's birthday, and I think we went out with you guys for a night, and we're like, wow, it's like so. We're like with people, and like nobody's
Yeah.
wearing a mask. Hallelujah, this is
Right.
amazing.
Right.
But on a serious note, it's like, when you're just always doing the same thing and you're doing your
Yeah.
videos and you're at your house and you're just like, I don't know why it's not growing or working for me. Now, here's the other thing. We should point this out. You did talk about this in the beginning, but some people will say, oh, well, but the economy and, the industry is down and like, it's not as
Sure.
easy as it was. Yes and no. I mean, are people still rank advancing
Well,
in your company? Drop it to the
for
comments. Let
sure.
me know. Are people still rank
Yeah.
advancing in your company?
But let
Because if
me.
they are, then you can
Yeah.
too.
But just think about this. Okay. When did I come into the industry and get serious about the industry? When did Matt Morris? When did a whole bunch of earners? 2009.
Yeah.
Look it up. Look at how many. If you do the research, 2009, my worst economic year since I was 19 years old. 19 years old, I made about the same as I did in 2009, and that was before I was a top earner and all that stuff. But 2009, if you do the research, that's when some of the biggest earners today came into the industry. 2008, 2009. So if you're just looking with your eyes, right? If you're just like, well, market don't look too good, then you're going to think, oh, I can't get any rock stars. But if you understand how this actually works, is disruption is when people come into network marketing that otherwise wouldn't have. See, I was too good for network marketing. I was real estate. I was killing it. I flipped $1 million homes, right? So I was too good for network marketing. I didn't want to have anything to do it until the market changed.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, ooh, I got to do something different. And that's when I came in. So I believe the top earners in all of network marketing are going to be coming in the next couple of years. But some people will be so distracted with the media and inflation and politics and whatever else that they won't prospect anybody. So they'll continue to crumble and suck. When I interviewed John Maxwell a couple of weeks ago, he's been at this for a while. He's written 88 books. He sold 34 million copies of his books. He's spoken on 13,000 stages. And he said, Ray, in 55 years of coaching, this is the worst environment I've ever seen with the least amount of good leadership examples. Leadership is needed more than ever. And so our event, the two main components, faith and leadership. And we even, talk about how to not be so addicted to your self-worth being your net worth. Yes, we want you to make more money. It's okay to have money. It's okay to have lots of money. And Bible tells us that. It's okay to have lots of money. It's just not okay for money to have you. And so if you're putting your security, your safety, your status, your identity, your significance in your money, then you're going to either be sad when you don't have it or want more when you do got it. And so how do you operate at a level where you can have and accumulate money and have the provisions for your visions and help out whoever you want to help out, be rich in good deeds without it driving, without it being the only driver, right? Because there's a purpose for you that is much greater than just acquisition of money, right? And that's not to thwart money, right? You go make a bunch of money. There's nothing better than someone who's up to good things to have more wealth, to have more money, to have the provisions for your vision. And
didn't you just have like your biggest financial month recently? I remember you said
we
that.
did through a couple, a couple things happened. It was our biggest profit month ever. We've had one other bigger revenue month, but we had our biggest profit month a couple months ago.
That's so cool. So, the reason I like to point that out, because you've obviously been, in this, profession, in this space for years and years and years, done lots of different things to make an impact. To still, bad economy, have your biggest financial month, or at least one of your most profitable. I mean, that's like insane. And it just shows people that there's I remember a mentor said this one time. He's like, there's plenty of money out there, and it's not like it leaves the earth, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the economy's dead. It's like, but it's still here. It's just circulating in different places than it was maybe a year or two ago. It's just still here.
Right.
You might say, well, it's not worth as much. It's still worth a lot, though. I mean, it's like, you know, it still pays the bills. How many sort of agree? Like, you go shopping, they don't say, well, you know, you can pay with your good looks. Unfortunately, that wouldn't work well for a lot of us, right? You still need the paper.
For either of us, at least.
Yeah. Well, you know, it ranks up there with oxygen. It is kind of an important thing, right, to have money. But, you know, at the end of the day,
can I give it?
Leaders like you.
Can I give an example?
Yeah.
I believe you watched Sound of Freedom, right?
Yes. Yes.
So at the, you know, I watched Sound of Freedom, which I was kind of hesitant to go to because I'm like, I kind of know what it's about. Yeah. I'm going to be sad. I'm probably going to cry. Yeah. Do I really want to go to this? So drop a 1 if you saw the movie. Who has at least seen the movie, right? Whether you liked it or not. I mean, I don't know anyone that saw and didn't like it. But drop a 1 if you've at least seen, you know, the movie. Am I seeing comments? I don't know. Someone may. So drop a 1 if you've seen it. So
we have a lot of ones.
If you're someone that cares, you probably ask yourself the same question, right? That I did, and that is, what can I do about this? Mm. And so, and for those that don't know, it's about human trafficking and you know, child trafficking, et cetera. And it's terrible. There are more people in slavery now than during, you know, before Civil War. And so you probably asked yourself, if you've seen it, you said, what can I do about this? And it just came to me. I mean, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And that is, what can I do about it? I can help equip people to make more money, to do more good deeds. And I can help equip people to make more money and to find their purpose and their fulfillment in helping others. And that's something that it just made total sense to me, because I'm not Tim, right? I'm not black masking it in the Congo, or, you know, like going undercover. Like that ain't, you know, that ain't my calling. But what if I help, you know, 25 you know, network marketers build their businesses, and all 25 of them donate, you know, somewhere between $100,000 to $1 million each? How many kids will that save because of their operation and because of what that would fund, right? That would make a difference. And so, you know, that's what you can do. So all of these things that tug on your heart, right, that you're like, man, I wish someone would do something about it. Well, your money could help that, right? Your time may or may not, depending on the situation, but there's only a finite amount of time, right? We got to have time for our family, for, you know, everything else in our life, for ourselves. But with more money, you can do more good. And so one of my biggest things here is help people develop more purpose, so they have more money, they have the provisions for their vision. And that's one of the big things we're going to focus on at the event, is to help you have more money, get more money, not be owned by it. It's not, you're not the slave to it, not be in love with it, but to see it as the resource that can be used to go make a big difference.
Right. And it's a direct correlation to the value you bring to the marketplace. The more people you serve, the more people you help, the more money you make, especially in this profession. And you're the one at one of your first events where we were exposed to Operation Underground Railroad years and years ago. And then we eventually, in 2020, actually right before COVID, we went to Tony Robbins' 60th birthday party. And he talked about, he had Tim there. They talked about the movie, and they talked about all the things. And of course, it took a while to come out, which makes you think, because of, you know, some of these studios not wanting to produce it, but you know, they made it happen. And, you know, at the end of the day, we've donated over $100,000 over the years to Operation Underground Railroad, because people like you and Tony and others exposed us to Operation Underground Railroad. So thankful for that. And you know, it really is about giving back and making a difference. And, you know, that's really the beauty of our profession, right? It's like, you ever be a top earner, even if you're like, I don't like that person, they you know, that they're not my type of leader. It's like, but you know what? The reason they're where they are and they're on that stage and they're getting the edification, they got the business and the income that they do, is because they made a big impact, and they took that faith, and they took that chance, even if they were fearful, right? Most people are not fearless. Most people are fearful. They're nervous. They're like, I don't know if it's a good idea. Is it, you know, worth it to do this? And you look back and you're like, wow, man, that leap of faith changed everything. So get registered for the event. Like Ray said, there are some tickets available, not many, but there are some tickets available. You go to mylifestyleacademy.com/faith, or drop the word faith in the comments. If that's easier,
Yeah.
we'll respond to you.
Sure.
I know we're live in like 7 places, so we'll try to respond to everybody as quickly as possible. And Ray, I appreciate you so much. And you're making a big difference in our life and so many others in the profession. We appreciate your leadership, your mentorship, and your friendship. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yeah. So to clarify one thing, if you do decide to go super VIP, you get to come to my wife's birthday party, which is on the 6th, the night of the 6th. And you also get, all your lunches covered, and you get into a special session with John Maxwell on day 3. And so, like, for example, he does an event called Live to Lead. He speaks for 25 minutes. He's speaking for up to 4 hours at our event. And so you're going to get a lot of John Maxwell. He's helped a lot of people. He's been very helpful to me as well. And so, yeah, we're real excited, and, being reasonable. There is no logic that says I should, man, it's going to be uncomfortable. I mean, be unreasonable and see how your growth follows.
I love that. And by the way, we've got people that are going to say, because I've already had this conversation, and say, oh, well, John, but our company has an event that same month. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to both. We're going to both. A lot of people are going to both. So it's just,
and I'll just say this, and I really do believe this, and I really do. I teach my team this. If you have to choose, go to your company event, because for most, if you have to choose, you're in a time and money resource issue, and which is tied to your belief in your faith, and you get belief and faith from your company because you're going to say, oh, they're in my exact company. So if you're battling if you have to pick, I would actually suggest going to your company event, because if you're in that resource restriction, so you just can't do both, then you probably need to increase your faith in the company, and being at the company event is very important.
But do both if you can. But
do both if you can. Pray on it and see, would this be helpful? Because I can tell you, man, people are going to be on fire. People that come to both, they're going to be on fire coming into that company event. I guarantee you.
Love it. Well, I appreciate you, brother, so much.
Man.
We're going to have fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Have a safe flight. Hopefully it happens.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, me too.
Good, brother. Bye, everyone.